So this is a completely different type of video than anything on my channel, but this is a topic that I really want to talk about. To give some context for anybody who might not know, Valve has announced a long-awaited update to Counter-Strike Global Offensive that will, in basic terms, update the CSGO that we know from the Source engine that it was originally built on to the newer Source 2 engine while rebranding the entire game into Counter-Strike 2. This will allow Valve to basically revamp and modernize the current Counter-Strike game, and also allow them better tools to update the game moving forward in the events that they actually update the game again. Some of the big changes that we can expect coming with the Source 2 update and general game overhaul with the official release of Counter-Strike 2 is a complete overhaul of the architecture that basically changes how the game interacts with servers, lighting and visuals, how smoke grenades work, audio improvements, and more. If you haven't seen anything about the update yet and want to learn more, there is a link in the description. But the update and transition from Counter-Strike Global Offensive into Counter-Strike 2 brings up a very important issue that is the main topic that I want to talk about in this video, and that is game preservation. Game preservation is a movement that some people have cared about for a really long time, has gained a lot of attention and support in recent years, and is slightly concerning when it comes to Counter-Strike. Slight disclaimer here that I'll talk more about in a bit. I personally don't particularly care about the preservation of CSGO, but the recent announcement has made me think a lot about this topic in the context of Counter-Strike. For anyone who doesn't know what game preservation is, let me explain. With any video game that releases, we obviously have, quite literally, the video game. All of the art, music, mechanics, storytelling, communities, developers' efforts, modders, and other community members' contributions, maps and worlds, and literally every other thing that goes into making a game and a player's experience within a game. However, we often see many different video games completely vanish overnight. Any ability to play the game is taken away from the players, and the only connection to them that we have left is our photos, videos, and memories. One example of this that is near and dear to my heart is the MMO WildStar, which originally released on July 3rd, 2014, and whose servers shut down November 28th, 2018. The game had a little over 4 years of lifespan, but within those 4 years, supposedly nearly 1.5 million different people played the game, explored the world, experienced the stories, listened to the music, and more. But that is no longer possible. People who played the game cannot go back and re-experience it, and anybody interested in it can't go try it out and learn about the world, stories, and so on firsthand. WildStar was obviously not a perfect game, I mean a shutdown for a reason, but the stories was one of my favorite, the music is incredible, and I would love to roam around the maps again and take in the beauty of it all. There is some hope with unofficial private servers that may or may not be shut down, which have a chance to return players to the world, but any chances for WildStar and everything that made WildStar to officially return is essentially non-existent. But sometimes we see games leave us over time and not overnight, like what happened with WildStar. As specific live service games evolve over the years, we slowly lose part of the game that made them the game they were. Don't get me wrong, updates to live service games are 100% necessary and important, but sometimes updates take a lot away from a game. Another example is with the MMO World of Warcraft, where about every 2 years, the gameplay of the game completely changes, certain systems get completely removed, and the experience just completely changes. Sometimes the updates are even more drastic, like how the Cataclysm expansion completely removed the entire vanilla world and all the stories contained within. Anyone who played through a certain era of WoW will never be able to again as a new era comes out. With the release of the classic version of the game, the original vanilla experience was restored and people can play that era of the game again. But we still see with some eras like the Burning Crusade, which were reintroduced but then taken away again. And then some eras will likely never be restored, but this entire discussion surrounding World of Warcraft is probably best saved for another video. The point stands though, sometimes games are taken away from us and we are never able to experience them again. Some games, like single player releases that you can download and launch through your computer, will be able to stay with us until the universe is destroyed, and other games, like Minecraft, allow you to play every single previous version of the game even though the game continuously receives updates. But what does this last several minutes of talking about other random games have to do with Counter-Strike? Well, that is because you will never be able to play Counter-Strike Global Offensive again. With the quote-unquote release of Counter-Strike 2, your ability to experience a game of CSGO with all of its maps, bugs, mechanics, and gameplay elements are going to be completely stripped away. Obviously, this is overall a good thing because an update to Counter-Strike is important in order to improve the game, modernize it for future audiences, and to promote the longevity of the IP. However, it is still sad to see a piece of history disappear from us. CSGO has existed for over 10 years. In those years, there have been countless games, countless pro matches, and countless memories made. Any opportunity for people to experience a game that is CSGO will be gone forever. And anyone who may want to revisit the game in the future to walk down memory lane will not be able to. You see, with the original Counter-Strike, people are still able to play the final version of that game that was released, and people can play other versions of Counter-Strike as well, such as Source. People who played any of those games, such as when they were kids, can revisit them and re-experience them. Anyone who may want to experience a game for their first time, be it as a history lesson or because they just want to try it out, can do so. And we see both of these happening. The original Counter-Strike has a relatively large community with several servers, and people can hop on and play it. All this will no longer be possible with CSGO. And generally speaking, this is why. CSGO is being overhauled into Counter-Strike 2, meaning that instead of a new game being released, Valve is taking the already existing game and plopping what is basically a new one in its place. CSGO has a lot of stuff. It has a ton of community-made maps, dedicated servers, millions upon millions of dollars of a real-world economy, and more. If all that were to basically disappear overnight, people would be rightfully upset. So it was, while technically possible, essentially impossible for Valve to add a new game into the series and make CSGO an obsolete game. I've seen a lot of people say that Counter-Strike 2 and CSGO are literally the same game, it's just lightly updated. And I say, yeah, that's kind of true, but the game seems completely different from my perspective. While the game fundamentally is going to be the same, just like how the original Counter-Strike and CSGO are fundamentally the same game, it's going to be completely different. Every Counter-Strike game is a different game than its predecessors. Counter-Strike evolved over the years into 1.6, which then evolved into Source, which then evolved into the original CSGO, which then evolved into the CSGO we see today, which is now evolving into Counter-Strike 2, which will most likely evolve again in the future. The game over the last 20 plus years has always been Counter-Strike. It's the same game, same general experience, and that is one of the reasons why people love Counter-Strike so much, but each game is still unique from each other. For a lot of people, I don't think they are going to miss CSGO in the immediate future. CS2 will release, people will start playing that, and hopefully have a ton of fun doing so. But if anybody ever wants to play CSGO again, like it is today, they won't be able to. People who grew up playing CSGO in their childhood or through various difficult moments in their life will never be able to re-experience it again. Anyone who wants to experience a piece of history at 10 years of game development, at 10 years of community development, will never be able to experience it. It will be gone forever. And I think that's sad. CSGO has played a big role in many people's lives as well as the gaming space as a whole. CS2 will be incredible, and if both CSGO and CS2 were to exist at the same time, CSGO's population would probably be a fraction of CS2, but there's just something about losing access to a game and piece of history that doesn't feel good to me. When looking at possible solutions for this situation, it is hard. You can't release CS2 as a brand new game like how CSGO was released as a brand new game compared to the original CS and the Source version. The issues I mentioned earlier, such as with the economy, still stand true. However, there are still opportunities for CSGO to be preserved while CS2 launches, such as through a new launch option that will allow people to load CSGO instead of CS2, or through relaunching CSGO as a new game on Steam that people can download as CSGO fully transfers over to CS2. There obviously doesn't need to be official servers for CSGO in the future. I don't believe there are any for 1.6 and so on, but allowing people the ability to load CSGO maps with bots or allowing community servers and communities to form will be enough to preserve the game for as long as we are able to run it with our technology. This allows anybody who would want to play CSGO for any reason to be able to play it. And over a decade of developers' efforts, certain mechanics and the ability to experience the game will be wiped away. We see the desire for preservation within Valve communities as well. Team Fortress 2 Classic is a community-driven effort to make a version of Team Fortress 2 like it was in 2008 and 2009, with some changes to add new things to the game. While most people who play TF2 play the modern version, there's still a community of people who enjoy playing TF2 like it was, for the most part, 14 or so years ago. And it's nice to see a piece of TF2 preserved because TF2, just like Counter-Strike, has evolved a lot over the years. Then of course, Counter-Strike, CS Source, and so on still exist with the relatively thriving communities. So there are a lot of examples of how people want the old games preserved. When it comes to my perspective on it, I don't care too much about CSGO. I enjoy the game a decent amount, but it's not my favorite thing. I'm obviously going to be playing CS2 as it launches, and I will enjoy the game. But I doubt it will turn into my favorite game. So I don't particularly care about CSGO being preserved for my own enjoyment or nostalgia because I don't value it a lot. But it is sad to see any game being lost to us because that is a part of history and a completely unique experience that will be gone forever. And there are many people today who are sad about never being able to re-experience CSGO again, and there will be more people in the future, 5, 10, 20 or however many years from now, who will reflect on their time playing CSGO and will want to load it up and play a match just like old times. For their sake, I hope they get to play it again in the future. For any of you who have played video games for a long time, I'm sure there is a game or a version of the game that you wish you could play again, but you can't because it doesn't exist anymore. If there isn't, I'm sure you can understand this perspective from other areas of your life, like a restaurant that you loved but shut down, or an event or concert that was a one-time experience, or a group of friends that drifted away from each other. There's beauty in one-time experiences that you had to be there for, but when it comes to games like CSGO, I don't think there's much need for that. And while I don't care too much about CSGO, I do hope that its memories and experiences are preserved, and I hope that anybody who wishes to relive and re-experience the game again in the future is able to do so.